Hey, hope you're having a good day. Coach Elon here. So, today's topic, I'm going to be talking about one of the biggest problems that the majority of people who come to me face, and that is that they want to tone up. So, maybe they feel insecure about a particular area, whether it's their stomach or arms or back or legs or wherever. They feel insecure about a particular area and they want to tone that area up. And then they also want to just feel great in their favorite clothes and to be able to feel confident and feel good when they look at themselves in the mirror. So that's kind of one of the main problems I want to give a solution to today. And to be able to give you a solution to that, I need to educate you and empower you with information on nutrition, because obviously, food plays a huge part in your ability, in your body's ability to tone up, or for what the question that we're asking it, and we wanted to do what we wanted to do, which is to tone up. So what we need to do is I'm going to give you some really simple, easy to understand advice when it comes to toning up. But we first have to understand, how do we actually get our body to tone up? So essentially what you're trying to do is, if you want to tone up an area, let's say the back of your arms or your stomach, essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to reduce your overall body fat levels. By reducing your overall body fat, either your arms or your stomach gets leaner slowly over time. So what we need to do for your body to be able to burn some of that body fat, we need to make sure with your food and your calorie intake that you're in just like a small calorie deficit. So calorie maintenance, for example, for the average female would probably be about maybe between 1800 to 2000 calories. Obviously, every person is completely different, but we'll just use that as an example for today. So let's say this female, for example, she's 40 years old, she needs about 2000 calories per day. But if she wants to tone up her arms or her stomach, she needs to be in a small deficit. So a calorie deficit would look like, instead of eating 2000 calories per day, she's eating somewhere maybe between 1400 to 1700. So now she is in that small calorie deficit, and the signal that that's going to send her body is that, oh, I don't actually have enough food here, so I'm going to have to take some energy from stored body fat somewhere around our body. So that's the signal that we need to give your body. So that's the basics of how you're going to be able to tone up, by being in a calorie deficit. But, and it's a big but, the problem that most women run into is that they're in a calorie deficit, but they're feeling hungry, they have to restrict themselves, the diet or the food plan they're following is not enjoyable. So one of the really big important parts of being able to tone up and to get leaner and to feel more confident is to eat enough protein on a regular basis, because protein is going to make you feel full. The proper term is satiated. That's a bit of a mouthful, but you want to feel full and as full of energy as regularly as possible, because you've probably been there before where you've restricted yourself food wise, and it's maybe fine for like a couple of days, but after a while you start to feel hungry, you start to get cravings. By the end of the day, when you finish work, maybe 5-6 o'clock, you're just ravenous for food, and that's not a good feeling to have. So to make it really easy to tone up, you need to make sure that you're hitting your protein target for the day. So roughly about 1.5 grams per kg. So if you weigh 60 kilos, you're aiming for about 90 grams of protein per day. So the good thing is with protein, it doesn't matter if you actually go over what the recommended is, because the more protein you eat, the more full you're going to feel, the more satisfied you're going to feel. And then overall, that's going to make the whole process of toning up and getting leaner just so much easier. Because when you don't have cravings and you feel full from your food and you feel satisfied, it's going to make it so easy. Hey Magdalena, thanks for watching. So you said that's so true, and once I'm hungry, I'm angry. I've been there before. There's nothing worse than that hangry feeling that you get, and we want to stay away from that for as long as possible. So the easiest way to not feel hangry is, as I said, to eat enough protein each day. And that's obviously going to make you just feel that much better, and it's going to make life that much better as well, because I know it's when you're hangry, and especially if you're with your spouse or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your family or whatever, it's tough on them as well. So life is much easier when we feel a lot better. So that's one of the basic things when it comes to toning up, is eating enough protein on a regular basis. And obviously then we have to look at carbohydrates and fat intake as well. So the easiest way to think about carbohydrates is you only need more carbohydrates the more active you are. So think of it in terms of a car. If you were driving your car from here down to the shop, which was like, a 1 minute drive, you wouldn't really need that much fuel in the tank to get there. But if you were to drive, let's say, from one side of Ireland to the other, you were to drive from Dublin all the way down to Cork, you're going to need a lot of fuel in the tank to travel, whatever that is, 200 kilometers. And it's the same with your body. The more active you are, the more carbohydrates you're going to need to fuel your activity. So a lot of people have this idea that, if I'm trying to tone up, or if I'm trying to get a little bit leaner, I need to cut out all sugar because sugar is bad. But sugar is just a form of carbohydrates. And as I said, you need carbohydrates the more active you are. So that's a really easy way to look at it. If I was to sit here all day on my computer and do nothing, my carbohydrate intake should be like really, really low. But if I was out for a run, if I was training, if I was cycling, if I was busy doing loads of steps, then obviously I'm going to need more carbohydrates. So all you need to do is to apply that to your life and think about it logically like that. Okay, so the more active I am, the more carbs I'm going to need. And then the last one I'm going to talk about is fat. So the basics with fat is really important, because fat is an essential macronutrient we need for a lot of different things. Most importantly, for our brain tissue is about 70% fat. So for our brains to actually work properly, for us to have good focus, for us to be able to concentrate, if you're working, if you have a project with work and you're busy and you need to focus on stuff, having more fat intake on your busy days is going to help with more focus and concentration. So it's really important for your brain. It's really important for your hormonal health as well. So if you're a female, we need to really look after your estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone, all of these really important foundational hormones. So by eating enough fat each day, that's going to give your body the support it needs to be able to, for you to feel your best, most importantly. And another misconception with fat is, I just find it funny because I've studied nutrition for so long, but a lot of people think, oh, if I eat fat, I'm going to get fat. But obviously that's not true, because the only way that you're going to get fat or overweight or gain weight or whatever it may be is from eating in too much of a calorie surplus. So if we go back to the example I gave of the 40-year-old woman earlier on, if 2,000 calories is her maintenance to just maintain her weight, if she was to eat 3,000 calories per day for a prolonged period, obviously she would start to gain weight and, go in a direction that she's probably not too happy with. But eating fat doesn't actually make you fat. It's just a calorie surplus that makes you fat. So they're kind of the basics that you really need to know when it comes to protein, carbohydrates, fat, in relation to being able to tone up your body, or to be able to, get a bit leaner on your arms or your stomach or your bum or wherever, you want to focus on. Now, the frustrating thing when it comes to toning up or getting leaner is that, unfortunately, we can't spot reduce an area. So we can't just say, oh, I'm going to really focus on my stomach because, I want to get that lean first. Unfortunately, the way our body works is it will, provided you're in a calorie deficit, it will take a little bit of fat from different places, like slowly over time. So that's why patience is, it's really difficult, but it's a really important part of the process of being able to get results, because if you are patient, slowly over time, your body is going to take a little bit of body fat from each area, and over the next, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, you will gradually you will see yourself getting leaner, you will see yourself making progress, you'll feel and fit better into your clothes, you'll get a little bit more toned up. So that's some of the really kind of important but foundational basic stuff that you need to know when it comes to toning up. And to be honest, if you were to follow all of that advice that I gave you there, that's all you really need to know and to implement. Like, you don't need to overcomplicate it or make it difficult. As soon as you start to make things difficult or overcomplicate things, that's when you're just gonna wreck your own head and you're gonna be like, what am I doing here? So we want to keep things really, really simple, because that's how you're going to get results, by keeping it simple. So I'm also going to answer a question. Got asked a question, so I'm just going to go into Facebook Messenger. So this is nutrition related as well, and a few of you might have experienced this or it might be helpful. So basically, one of the girls who signed up for the 20-day challenge, she asked, I'm just going to get a question here. She said, challenge going well so far. I'm short on my calories. What do you suggest I could have in the evening as a snack if I've hit over my protein goal? So at the end of the 28-day challenge plans, there's actually a list of different snacks that you can have. But as I said, it doesn't actually matter if you go over your allotted protein intake, because the more protein you have, the more full you're going to feel, the more satisfied you're going to feel, and it's actually going to help you to tone up a bit faster. So if you go over your protein intake, that's no problem at all. So she also said, she said I've gotten to about 1,200 calories so far. I've had a Fulfill bar as a bit of a snack this evening, but don't want to undereat. So yeah, it's really important to get the balance between, if you're trying to tone up, you need to be in a calorie deficit, but you don't want to go so low on your calories that it's affecting your day-to-day life. So it's really important to have that balance between too low and just being in a small enough calorie deficit to actually see results. So it's really important that you don't really, undereat either. But she also said, even if I'm, and do you reckon it's important for me to eat my calories even if I'm not that hungry in the evening? So the thing is, if you're not hungry in the evenings, and you don't actually feel the need to eat, you don't have to force yourself to eat. Like, the thing is, when you follow most of the guidelines that I give you, you're probably going to feel full and satisfied anyway. So you literally do not need to force feed yourself if you're like a little bit lower on your calories than what's suggested. So that's fine. And yeah, so that was the two questions that she asked. I hope that's helpful. Thanks a million to everyone who tuned in for today's live video. If you want to re-watch it, it's going to be available in the group. And if you have any questions about anything that I talked about today, or a topic maybe that you want me to address in future, all you need to do is either email me, it's elan@coachelan.com, message me on Facebook, or just drop a comment just underneath, and I will get to that. And I do a live video in the group here every Wednesday to answer your questions, and also to talk about a topic in depth as well, because my whole goal here is to empower you with as much information as possible, because the more educated you are, the more you know about nutrition, about training, about all these different things, the easier for you it's going to be to get results, not just in the short term, but to be able to get sustainable long-term results for the next year, few years, or for the rest of your life. So it's really important to me to be able to provide some education and to empower you with that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks a million for tuning in. Hope you enjoy your Wednesday, and I'll talk to you again soon.